So I'm gonna show you guys how to dip using wax. This is wax. I have the bottle over there. It's called Aptosa wax. It's a little bit of a material that you put on the bottom of your pot so that it doesn't get glaze on it. If you get glaze on the bottom of your pot and you stick it in the kiln and you put it on the kiln shelf, the glaze will melt and turn into glass as it does, and it will stick to the bottom of the kiln shelf. And then when you pop it off, it is like shards of glass. So we can't have that. That's not good, right? And then I have to grind down the shelf. It's a real mess. So this is going to ensure that we don't have to do that. But we have to be careful in how we apply the wax, okay? So I'll help everybody with this, but I want to show you guys how to do it. So I have just a little tray of the wax that's wet in here. And what you guys want to do is you want to get alongside, and you want to just make sure. You don't want to really shove it in. You just want to dip it a little bit. We want it to go about 1/8. I think about 1/8 to, ooh, that's good. That one came out good. 1/8 to about 1/4. Now, once I dip it, notice I'm not just flipping it over. It's drippy on the bottom. It's very wet. So you don't want to just flip it. So I'm just kind of holding it here. I lifted it up so I could see underneath to make sure I got what I wanted. And then I'm letting it set up just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to take a Q-tip. I have a bunch of Q-tips over here. They're stuck a little bit. And I'm going to flip this over. Okay, and you can kind of see that. And I'm just going to take the excess wax. I don't have to do too much. This one actually came out really good. I have a spot right here, and it is a little bit bare inside there. I'm just bringing it up on the edge just a little bit more so that it's even all the way around in all the spots. I'm going to look around the outside edge. I'm going to make sure I don't have any little pinholes that didn't get the wax inside it. Sometimes you'll get those. And I'm looking around the bottom edge. Actually, this one came out really good. No complaints. What you notice about this is that it came up a little bit on some of my little coral areas. And that's okay. What it's doing is it's hitting all of your footprint, your lowest spots, right? And that's really important. So even if it hits up on some of those little spots, it's totally fine. If you have the bottom inside here, if that is pretty shallow, you might get some on the inside. And that's okay too. If that happens, you can just decide to, complete that area and just put wax on the inside. But if it's hollow enough, you could put glaze on the inside there too. Okay, so it's up to you. Ooh, I have a couple little spots I got on there with my finger. So you gotta be careful. Try not to touch it, like I just did. And you want to let it dry and completely set up once you get this done. Okay? This is what we're going to be doing first. Everyone's going to do this. We want to touch it up with a Q-tip only. We do not want to hit it with a brush. Once the brush hits the wax, you can just throw it out after. It's no good. Okay? And we need the brushes for the glaze. So that's what we're going to start. I'm going to pause the video and then we'll come back when we're ready to do the glazing. So now we're on glazes, and everyone's hopefully chosen the glaze that they're interested in. I'm going to be doing pear. I want to show, this is a test tile with pear, and you notice that it has like little textures in it, which is nice. It'll show how the glaze acts with texture, which is nice. And you can see it over here where there's less texture, and so it doesn't show kind of those lights and darks as much with the celadons. So it's a little smoother looking, and maybe that's, what your goal is, to make it look a little smoother. Like this might be also nice for an inside, because this inside's going to be smooth when we do that. Today we'll probably only get through 1 or 2 coats on the outside. I can't stress enough that we only want to have tops 3 coats, tops. And they should be 3 lightish coats, not 3 or 4. I've had students like dump on 5 or 6, and it's like it melts all over the place and it just becomes a mess. Okay, so you've got to be really sensitive to how much glaze you put on. When you have your glaze bottle, a lot of them get coated with glaze along the top, right? And when they do, they don't close well, so please be careful in how you approach the glaze. You can shake it side to side. You can hold the top. That's another good way to do it, but they just really pop right off. So you have to be careful. Do not shake it up and down and then have it like sail off and glaze goes everywhere. That's happened, just saying. It usually happens once a year. So let's just be careful, and maybe this will be the year it doesn't happen. When you do the glaze, if there's any dried stuff at the top, you can actually just poke it and let it go back into the glaze. It's dried, but it will reconstitute. If it loses too much moisture, we can even add a little bit of water, and that works out really nicely too, and it'll soften up and melt right back in, so it's not a big deal. When I opened this one, it had like a whole coating from the top of the can, so I just popped it back in. It's already melting in. It's not going to hurt anything at all. Some of my glazes, I don't think any of the underglaze is a little bit more so. They'll smell funny. That's okay. Sometimes they just smell funny, but it doesn't mean anything, and they will fire in the kiln and be just fine. Okay, so I sometimes work off the edge right here because the glaze is higher up. And we've got wax here, so we're in good shape. You will glaze the inside of this as well. So don't forget that inside area. And you will get probably a little bit of glaze on the wax area. We're just going to sponge that off when you're totally done. You don't have to do it each class, but just before we stick it in the kiln, we're going to wipe off that wax. There'll be a little bit of glaze on it, not a big deal, but it will wipe off delightfully and you will have a nice edge. Keep in mind the wax will melt totally and evaporate in the kiln. So you will not see the green line that you have here. It will just be bare clay. Just as an example, I think it was one of the other bowls I was showing you guys. I was testing the dipping and I messed it up and it got all over the place. And I was like, oh geez, how am I going to get it off? And the only way to get it off is to stick it back in the kiln. So when I stuck it back in the kiln, it came out and there was nothing on it. Okay, so it totally melts. Now, when you're glazing the surface, I got you guys little brushes because we have lots of nooks and crannies. So you want to get your brush in and make sure that you don't have any white spots. Now, if you're doing a glaze that is red in color, even if it turns out blue, but the glaze is darker, it's easier to see on the surface of your clay. This one's a little harder because it's lighter. So I have to really make sure that I'm getting in there. I want an even coat, but it does not have to be a perfectly brushed coat. Does that make sense? You want it even, and I'm using this brush to really get into those spots to make sure I don't have any dry spots. And you might say, oh, well, it doesn't show much now if I have a dry spot. What's the difference? It will be glaring once you fire it, like especially if you have a dark color. So you want to make sure to get the glaze on the whole surface, unless there's an intentional spot. Like some potters will leave like the bottom edge of a mug unglazed. That's an intentional thing. You don't want to leave a little dot that you just missed when you were glazing it. That's a different thing, okay? So if you guys are ready, and if you've washed your brushes, make sure you wash your brush before you use it, because it was definitely used for a different glaze. Then you can go ahead and get started. Do one coat, let it totally dry, completely dry, and then do a second coat. We might get through that before we have to clean up. All right.